Hi there, welcome to or welcome back to Tiffany's Books. I read books and I talk to you about them. I thought I would do something a little bit different today, and I have this backlog of books that I have not reviewed here. I've reviewed them on Instagram or Storygraph, but I have not reviewed them here. And so I thought I would go back to doing that. I kind of started a little bit. I've got 2 of them up, which are just very short, quick reviews on things that I think you should read that I read and I enjoyed. This one is actually a little bit more popular than the other 2, so you've probably read it. But I recently, meaning a few months ago, read the Kaiju Preservation Society by Scazli, and I just recently, earlier this week, or last week, put up a review on Instagram. So this is me being like, hey, I haven't actually reviewed this here, let's talk about it, because I really, really enjoyed this. And I read it at the end of last year, shortly after the elections, and I was not in a good headspace, and this helped a lot. I was really struggling to get through some books because everything I had was really heavy and just took a lot of brain work to really understand. And this, for a sci-fi, actually did not. So I just kind of wanted to talk about it briefly and recommend that you read it. So this is probably gonna be a little bit short. So this is the Kaiju Preservation Society by Scazli. When I first read this, I had only read a couple other Scazlis. There was an audiobook series that was these novellas called This, and I can't remember what they're called, but they were interesting and unique, and I enjoyed them. They were just kind of silly little things, and I was like, oh, I'll try another one, and this one's really heavily recommended to me. So Kaiju, obviously. This is set during the pandemic, so I was already ooh, do I really want to read something set in the pandemic? But here's the thing, it is so good in the way that it is set in the pandemic, because we're kind of talking a little bit about some of the troubles people went to, and then we just leave and we go off somewhere else, and I was like, oh yeah, okay. So we're following Jamie, and Jamie is always just referred to as Jamie throughout this book. There are no personal pronouns used when referring to Jamie, which is fantastic. So anytime I say Jamie, I'm going to try to say the name Jamie, but I may use they instead, depending on my sentence structure, just to warn you. So that's why, which I actually think is really cool, because Jamie could be non-binary. Jamie could be a man. Jamie could be a woman. It is up to you, however you want to picture Jamie, because Jamie is also not physically described, which is great too. It's so good, in the way that it's done, and it's done seamlessly and flawlessly, and you would never notice. I'm telling you now because I was excited and I noticed it, and then I remembered, I was like, oh, somebody else said that too. So because you just don't notice in the way that it's written, which is great because it is first person. So everything is first person, and then all the conversations, Jamie's just referred to by name. So Jamie is, in the beginning, right before the pandemic starts, working for this company as doing some techie stuff, and has just basically been up for a work review and gets let go. They suggested this change in the way that this food delivery app worked, and the CEO was like, cool story. Also, we're gonna have to let you go. So Jamie ends up delivering food for this company because they're like, hey, we'll offer you a better role than you would normally get if you decide to deliver for us, though, because we're having to lay off for the pandemic. And so Jamie's like, I'll never do that, and then ends up doing it. And so one day while Jamie's delivering food, Jamie runs into an old colleague, someone they knew previously before they started working for this tech company, and consistently delivers to them. And then one day that person is like, hey, this is the last day you're gonna deliver food for me. And Jamie's like, I believe it was also Jamie's last day or something too, and Jamie was like, cool, it's my last day as well. And then they get talking, and the person is like, I might have something for you, here's my card, type of thing, right? So it's all secretive, and it's just called KJP. No, I got the letters backwards. KPS. Why did I put a J in there? Because Kaiju has a J. KPS. They're just referred to as KPS. And so Jamie's like, what the fuck is KPS? Goes to the interview and gets offered this really cool position. And we know from the title of the book that it's dealing with kaiju. So when Jamie finds out, they're like mind blown, right? So they get brought on the team with a bunch of other scientists as well. And Jamie's job is to lift things. Jamie was like, yeah, I could lift things. So Jamie's job is to lift things. And as they go into this like world where they have to transfer through these different like wormhole jump things, gets really used to kind of living in this environment and all the stuff that happens. They have to go out on this helicopter and like take data from like help take data from this monster, and there's all these different things about like pheromones and all these stuff. And of course, eventually, as what happens in sci-fi, big corporate comes in and tries to fucking ruin it. Pretty much it. So that's like the basics of the story, but it is so weirdly like cozy in a very different way. So there is like, and I say cozy in the sense that it's kind of lower stakes of what's happening. So there's not like a world ending thing. It would end the kaiju world and maybe affect our world, but it's very hard to like, it's so separated that it doesn't feel like it's really high stakes and you're like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? But there are these high stakes moments within the book, which I think kind of gives it this like kind of like slower feel to it. The book itself is not slow paced, but it feels just like slice of lifey in so many moments that it just makes it really consumable and really easy to read, and also just like a good time. The other thing that I really enjoyed was the science behind it, that kaiju in here are nuclear powered, and the way that that works, I'm not a physicist, I'm a biologist, but the way that it makes sense, the way that it's worded to make sense makes sense. Like I was like, oh, okay, I could see that. So we get some stuff that makes sense and some stuff that doesn't make sense. But overall, it's like, it's just this like kind of casual thing that happens. And from that perspective, I really enjoyed it. I think it does a lot with like how a change in pace can really affect like your life. It feels kind of uplifting, and it is, I've heard it like Jurassic Park, but make it cozy. So that's kind of my short pitch for the Kaiju Preservation Society. I really don't think there's not a whole lot of like really in-depth stuff I can talk to you about it, because it's not that deep. It's really just casual, it's cozy. It's only 260 pages, so there's not really like a lot to like dive into. But I really enjoyed this, and I think from a perspective of an author that I really want to try more of, I am excited to try more John Scalzi. I have Starter Villain on deck, and I'd like to read the Red Shirts one. I think it is like millennial dad humor. Like, obviously John Scalzi's not a millennial. I believe he's like a Gen Xer, but his humor hits for a lot of millennials. There are so many jokes of like, calling that for my band name type thing, which consistently funny in here, and I don't know why, because it shouldn't be, because it was definitely used a lot, but there is that kind of dad humor throughout it. So if you're a millennial and you have like a wholesome dad, you've probably heard like 90% of these jokes. And I just, for that perspective, really enjoyed it, because it just felt so, in a lot of ways, wholesome. And the fact that Jamie does get retribution against the big corporation. And I love corporation bad sci-fi, which is the majority of sci-fi, but I love corporation bad. And I love having it in this type of environment where it's just kind of chill. Like, we're not like corporation manipulating governments and taking over things. We're just like corporation trying to get a technology that they should not have. And can we prevent them from getting that technology? And I love that. There's a rescue mission in here. There's like friendships formed. There's like finding your new home and figuring out like who you are in a world that's changing. And also the fantasy of getting your student loans paid off by your job. Sign me the fuck up. Like, please. So the Guardian quote on the back is hugely enjoyable, intelligent, and good-humored fun. And it is. So if you need something, because if you're in the US and the world is on fire, or if you're in the UK and are just dealing with that Supreme Court decision, which is absolutely horrific. and I can't deal with it, with the fact that that was the decision that was made. I just really can't, because seriously. But not to go too deep into that. If you need something that's a good escape, that isn't going to take a lot of brain power, that's going to be easily readable and enjoyable and have some good humor and some really cool science, very ecology sci-fi, which I love. I love ecological sci-fi. I've got Annihilation up here behind me to read next, and that's going to be like kind of like a little horror element. I'm excited about that. This is a huge recommend. Hard recommend this book. So that's my video for today. I've had like the worst hectic week, so keeping it short, keeping it light, and I will see you soon with something else. I'm still working on finishing my very long big boy books, so I'll see you soon.